Hello everyone, welcome to Fableheim and the third Dev Diary Dev Stream breakdown for Age of Wonders 4 Ways of War. Today is all about the intrigue happenings, just the spontaneous events that can occur and dramatically change the diplomatic situation of your playthrough. As the dev stream, I thought it'd be super chill and there'd be very little to talk about, but Thomas proved me quite wrong. So if you're also curious about how the Dragon Lords have evolved, stay tuned. Or skip ahead. The YouTube chapters down below will guide you. They will also carefully label where spoilers will happen if you do not want to be spoiled about the intrigues, which is in the latter half of this dev diary and the very start of the dev stream breakdown. Without further ado, let's hop in. Hi everyone and welcome to today's dev diary on intrigue happenings. My name is Michelle at Michelle Triumph, narrative designer at Triumph, and I'm here to talk about the new intrigue happenings you will encounter during your time playing Age of Wonders 4 Ways of War. Lest you forget, Ways of War released on November 5th and is part of the Expansion Pass 2. Just like the devs forgot. Michelle was a part of today's dev stream, so it was quite appropriate for the intrigue that they at least continued. And don't worry, I saved this for thumbnail material. Be warned! Be unspoiled. First of all, a warning for those who like to go into the new narrative content without being spoiled. This dev diary consists of two parts. First, I'll talk about the global design and intent of the new content. This section is relatively spoiler-free and will mainly feature pretty pictures provided by our talented artists. The second part goes in-depth to the new intrigue happenings, their design and intent, and will show some actual content to illustrate the intended flow. I will warn you and hide the actual content so you can browse at your own convenience. With that said, onward. So yes, be sure to check the chapters if you don't want to be spoiled. Part 1. What's happening? In the Eldritch Realms DLC, we introduced cosmic happenings, global events, and effects that shake up the game for all players involved. Intrigue happenings use the same system on a more personal level. Intrigue happenings are event and quest chains designed to target an AI ruler on any single-player, non-story realm. They were very specific in the dev stream answering a question that this cannot ever affect a human player. It is focused only for AI rulers. They aim to shake up the mid-game diplomatic status quo and encourage you to investigate and decide on the fate of the affected ruler, who may be affected by internal turmoil or have been replaced by another entity entirely. The affected ruler, meanwhile, will start to influence the realm in their own ways. Look at the GIF. Details of the intrigue happenings differ, but their core design revolves around a longer quest chain that you can complete, after which you can decide on how this story will resolve. You can opt out of the chain whenever a new quest is presented, which sometimes brings its own reward. We have wanted to introduce quest chains outside of story realms for a while now, and this is our biggest attempt thus far. Oh boy. So this appears to be a flowchart. Usually the flowcharts I see involve a yes and a no, and a way to go back to yes. This, a little more complicated. So let's break this down right quick. So turn 1. Okay, so this looks like the breakdown here. We have an event, an objective, a script behind the scenes, an example, diplomatic status or game change, and choice. Okay. Yes. See, I told you there is a yes. So turn 1, demonic possession, visual AI changes, happening intro. Okay. Turn 2, quest 1 intro. Objective 1A, meet me at location X. We give it a chance. So we can either go to quest 1 outro B, quest 1B intro, objective 1B, quest 1B outro. We're finding our way back to the middle, I see. Or quest 1 outro A. Random. Repeated random event during happening. Oh, so they can have repeats. Interesting. Random event 1, diplomatic change with rulers. Or specific, the player defeats the victim player. Defeated victim event 1, the player defeats the culprit player. Oh, there can be culprits and victims. I see. The one they spawn in the dev stream is very simple, but it looks like they can be quite complex. Quest 2 intro, objective 2A. There's no 2B? Quest 2 outro, quest 3. Yeah, choose ending, ending A, B, or C. Oh, okay. Designed for an intrigue happening with some branching narrative. Yeah, so this is like the most basic flowchart ideal, I suppose. Age of Wonders 4 Ways of War will feature 6 unique intrigue happenings with a total of 90 unique events. Wow. Okay. Conditions and constraints. All these intrigue happenings have different flavors and quests, so we applied conditions and constraints to ensure they only happen in fitting situations. For example, all intrigue happenings require for you to have met the affected ruler, and all of them require that the player is not at war nor in an alliance with the affected ruler. Next to that, the different intrigue happenings have unique requirements to ensure they only happen to fitting AI rulers. Examples are alignment, ruler type, or affinity. This means that in some games, specific happenings may not be able to trigger. Intrigue happenings will also have a cooldown, which means on average only one should show per realm. And over multiple realms, happenings that have not shown before will be a prioritize. We have some code of some kind here. A conditioned script for the Dawn of Calamity intrigue happening. It requires an AI ruler to have at least 5 Chaos affinity and no other affinity that surpasses it. Blintz, your time is here. Your time to shine. I don't know what it is with Blint, but he just loves the evil. He can't resist it, even when he's supposed to be Hoarder. Due to the global and expanded design of these narrative-heavy happenings which affect AI rulers and specific questlines, the decision was made to make this an experience for single player only, meaning they will not happen in multiplayer games. Multiplayer brings its own challenges and edge cases which can break these happenings, especially since the quest chains can run for tens of turns. I believe they mentioned around about 30 turns was kind of what they were aiming for. For example, what if another player decides to kill the ruler you're investigating? What if another player decides to fight or invalidate your quest objective? What if... To ensure this would work as intended, it would take more development time, meaning less content for you. So we decided to focus on enhancing the single-player experience instead. As a single-player enjoyer, I appreciate and approve this method. Make it happen. If you want to ensure you encounter these piles of content in your game, you can increase the likelihood of intrigue happenings triggering by starting a game with the new Unfolding Mystery Realm trait, and by playing the new realm Paradise Divided. Oh, this is the Premium Challenge realm, which I think is just a pre-built realm with all the new stuff in it. And this is the realm trait. In this realm, intrigue and skullduggery are rampant. The intrigue happening type has a high chance of occurring during the mid-game. A diverse set of rulers will increase the chance of occurrence. The new Paradise Divided Realm template and Unfolding Mysteries will increase the likelihood of an intrigue happening to happen. Next to that, intrigue happenings fall under all other happenings like the Toll of Seasons and cosmic happenings, and will thus be affected by any personal settings related to them, something to keep in mind. Any personal settings related to happening intensity will also affect intrigue happenings. I was curious about this because if you put it on intense, which I actually really like having the highest level of happening intensity, I think it really adds some spice. I mean, how many campaigns have I done now? So I really enjoy the variety, even if I do really hate having World Tree seeds thrown at me. But yeah, if you put it on the highest difficulty, the Toll of Seasons just happens. So I imagine this would be similar, but I'll use the trait for the first run, of course. Which, by the way, the rough draft of the poll is complete. I have decided, and soon we will be voting. Now we go into more detail. So we are here at the point of spoilers. The following will feature more in-depth description and images of the actual intrigue happenings. Be warned. So if you do not want to see these, check out the YouTube chapters where you can skip ahead to anything that doesn't say spoiler on it. I'll put it in big words, just like this. So welcome everyone who wants to see the things. Below I will share a few images of the fiendish takeover intrigue happening to walk you through its flow in a bit more detail. Like any happening, the intrigue starts with an event that shows you what changed. So we have a Baylor here, okay? I'm not going to read all of these in detail, we'll save that for our own run, but as you ponder the realm, you are suddenly contacted by none other than a Baylor, who now seems to rule the Ashbourne hedonists. A new ruler rises at the cost of Sinrin. How unfortunate for him. One turn, or a few turns after the happening is introduced, you'll be requested to investigate. Do you want to see what happened? Or do you want to deal with this new ruler in the usual, conventional way? Oh, hey. Sup, they must be truly desperate to come to you for help. No kidding. My stalwart blade. Which made you want to hear this? Your guards bring forward a talisman of the Ashborn Hedonists. My oh my. Whenever you get a quest related to the intrigue, you can decide to opt out of the intrigue. The deeper you go, the more tempting this may become, lest the affected rulers become aware of your investigation. Ooh. If you tire of intrigue, there's always the option to keep your new infernal frenemy close. You have a new leading your investigation into the Obadothan Duke. He was summoned at a ritual circle. Oh. Good old infestations. You gotta hate them. Every few turns, a random event may spawn in which the ruler affects other entities on the map. For example, other rulers. The longer the situation goes on, the more it could affect, so you may want to hurry. Or not, depending on whether you think this is a great development. Ignoth goes to war with another ruler. Oh no. Anyway, if you decide to investigate, you will enter a quest chain of 2 to 4 quests, culminating in a finish where you can decide whether to bring back the former ruler, or for the new ruler to stay and conquer the realm together. You are the gaudier hero of this story, so this choice is yours. Okay, so he just declared war on Nimue. Makes sense, he's a giant fire demon, she's a siren of sorts. Deal with the Obadothan Duke. Aftermath. Oh, this is Giga spoils. You claim the contract of the Obadothan Duke, its full meaning becomes clear to you. I see. So you can destroy the contract and Infernal Alliance, banishing the Obadothan Duke and bringing back the Sublime Seducer, Sinrin Toliath, also known as Sigvald the Magnificent. Use your knowledge of the contract, join in the alliance between Ignoth and Megara, keep the contract, use it to claim infernal powers for yourself. Yeah, man. Is that? So is that a chaos event? Is that why he has that? Or is that just a chaos boon? I'm not sure. An inferno contract with enough chaos affinity. Oh, just keep reading, Fabe. You could alter it. Oh, yes. Intrigue happening type. Ways of War will introduce 6 intrigue happenings, divided into a few groups. Possession. In this type, an AI ruler is taken over by an entity, as seen in the example above, with 4 variations. I can tell you that one of those variations is a Calamity Dragon. We're here for spoils. Usurper. In this type, an AI ruler is taken over by a hero from their own faction with ill intent. Oh my, betrayer! You've doomed us all! Takeover. In this type, the player can aid a hero who aims to take over an empire during a rebellion instead. Oh, this is going to be so good. Blint, I can now screw you over in more ways. In case you're wondering, every new feature, I just think of ways in which I can twist the knife into Blint's existence. No matter what. So we do have more pictures here, and it looks like these are one of each type. And it also looks like open image in new tab. I can't read them. Alright, so we saw the Obadothan Duke. We're fine. We have the Rebellion, which I believe this is the event that has triggered in the dev stream. A gamble with death. The inescapable end. The Omen of Destruction. This must be when the Calamity Dragon replaces. Thomas talked about that in the dev stream. A new Regency. Oh. So this is when the guy died. The ruler went to the Astral Void, and somebody has taken the step to take his spot. Interesting. And then we have the Day of Judgment. It's a Keeling. Or, Judge, that's what they're called. Huh. Okay. A devotee of order, such as I. Okay, cool. I see. Do you hear the bells, Alfred? Their beautiful toll. An elegy for thee. Dusk is looking forward to meeting you. I'm looking forward to meeting Dusk. So it looks like there's new, interesting. So when the Gaudier is usurped or replaced, it looks like you re-meet them. I wonder if that completely resets relations, or if they kind of carry relations from previously. It looks like it's a reset, kind of. We are very excited about the new Intrigue happenings, and we hope you are too. I cannot wait for you to experience them. I can't either. I'm going to enjoy this. I think it could be super annoying to have this trigger with the Toll of Seasons, but I don't want them to be exclusive either. I wonder if you'll be able to turn off the Toll of Seasons. With, like, if you turn on Intense Happening, you're like, hey, I want Intense Happenings, but I don't want Toll of Seasons, or I don't want Intrigues. Okay. So for the... here in this text somewhere, I'm going to just say this here before we get into the stream part, because then I can, you know, spoiler free and all that. The one part of this mentioned that can affect the world and other parts of the world or whatever. The Calamity Dragon event, Thomas got it in his personal playthrough he was doing at home. And he mentioned how the Calamity Dragon, like, started destroying provinces just out about in the world, and he had to go travel across the world to go deal with it because he didn't like his provinces being destroyed. Probably being desolated, because that's what, you know, the Calamity stuff does. And he also got another event where it was a usurp of some kind, and this happened. It must be truly desperate to come to your help, but it wasn't just a regular old townsman. It was the actual ruler who came, like, basically bending knee to help you claim his rightful spot again. And, you know, he threw him in jail because lol. But, yeah, so those are spoilers from Thomas. Speaking of Thomas, today's dev stream was hosted by Thomas. As many others may know him, a Voxel, who has been very kindly sharing more details in the Age of Wonders 4 Discord, and to Michelle, who designed the Intrigue events and wrote that dev diary. So welcome everyone who avoided the spoilers. The spoilers are over. It's time to talk instead about what I saw. And I'm a big fan of this new screenshot method because it makes things a lot easier for me. So, we're starting off here looking at an Honor Blade. We've seen the Honor Blade fade, but now it's a Shadow Honor Blade. It has the Living Shadows, which is the new minor racial transformation. I don't actually remember if we saw it in the previous dev diary, but here it is in full glorious effect, combined with Inner Mastery, of course, with this golden glow. Now, Thomas at the time, I mentioned a few times at the dev stream that they are playing on an older build because it was stable, and Living Shadows had been nerfed. And I don't know if he was referencing, like, Living Shadows since its inception, which I'm sure it has, or Living Shadows in their old build, this outdated build, compared to what's currently being run, or being planned for release. So maybe this has been nerfed. It seems insanely powerful as it is, so I wouldn't be surprised if it is being nerfed. And here is the Warbound, of course, the tier 3. He looks really good with Living Shadows, and, you know, yellow gloves for hands. There were also quite a few questions in the first part of the stream that Michelle was just reading off and answering. There is a new soundtrack for the DLC. All the DLC do get one, I believe. Pretty sure all the DLC get new songs. We kind of read about this in the Intrigue thing, but multiple Intrigue happenings can trigger per campaign. It's just very unlikely because they're kind of designed, you know, for just one to go off. There's a cooldown between them. They have specific requirements. But multiple can trigger if your campaign is long enough. They mentioned some of you mad lads out there had campaigns like 500 turns long. And you're crazy. You are crazy. Okay, this isn't it. But they mentioned that currently heroes have no way to obtain the effect of Shadow Blades, which is the enchantment that ignores 50% defense/resistance if an enemy is blinded. Thomas said that that would probably be too strong, since there are other ways to ignore defenses. And this picture is because the Oathsworn have been given unique event dialogues in, you know, events that already occurred that will affect their devotion. In this case, this Kraken wanted to flee, and as the Oath of Strife, that is unacceptable. So, they had to go hunt it down. The Masters of Calamity is a new free city type that makes them Masters of Calamity. So if you do vassalize them, you get access to all of this stuff, which looks really fun. I approve. And of course, they will wield this stuff against you. Good fun, good fun. We got some of the Intrigue event. This is part of the Rebellion one. Sorry, my brain just... I'm half reading, half not. My screenshot, my great notepad here. So we do have more stuff to talk about, but here's the voice of the people. Again, this is just the Rebellion stuff. And then Tempest found out that the team was aiding the Rebellion, and he wasn't going to have it, so he declared war. I'm actually quite curious if this can just bypass justification. Because the AI will try not to declare an unjustified war, but if this just bypasses it, that would be actually a good thing to know. No one asked. I should have asked. Although I was behind because I was taking screenshots. And there's a new little UI here. Some of this is from the last DLC, Eldritch Realms. But the happenings are now listed in here with their little parchment paper, and realm quests are tracked down here. All good stuff. And I have more things to read. So the Pantheon weapons have kind of been reworked. They are tied, of course, to a class that is appropriate for their weapon. But the skills they provided was kind of just like a permanent passive that they would give to the hero, which is usually why I would give them like the Berserker's Axe to give them Berserker, so they wouldn't die as much. That is no longer the case. That item effect is now just on the weapon. But the weapon's blueprints are now in the item forge. Not their specific affix, but their blueprint. So you can take, for the example they used was the Crowmaster's Bow. Crowmaster's Bow is a tier 1 bow that gives you the ability to summon a crow thing. I forgot what they're called, the tier 1 thing. If you go into the item forge, there's a blueprint for the Crowmaster's Bow, which you can put in more affixes to raise its level. So you can't ever put the Crowmaster's Bow effect onto a different item, but you can put other things into the bow to make it a higher tier, and thus, carry it through your whole campaign if you want. I think that's a great change. There is a new weapon type. There's actually two, but we'll get to that later. And basically, it's a new skirmish weapon. Right now, the only skirmish weapon in the game is the sword plus pistol. There is now a sword plus handbow. They said sword plus crossbow, but I'm assuming it's like a handbow. And it has longer range and deals more base damage than the sword plus pistol, but it does not have the breaching effect of the pistol. So, Thomas said he'll see how crazy that is. And the feudal, high, and dark cultures can start with this weapon. The Mortal Champion rulers will now start with Command for free. This is the 1 AP, restore all AP to another unit ability. It is being removed from all of the heroes, but the Mortal Champion Gaudier will now begin with this for free. It's kind of like a contrast to the Wizard King's overchannel. The Necromancer's Orbs in the Pantheon have been changed to a staff, and that's basically just because the design of the orbs, they do not give an active ability. They're just there for the damage. The Warrior's Soul was buffed. That's when the Oath of Strife characters are outnumbered, but Thomas did not elaborate how it has been buffed. The Charge terrain, look at that, has an effect. So with the Dark Warrior here, Thomas ran into this bush, which is now a slowing, obscuring terrain, and because it is a slowing terrain, it is blocking its charge effect. So that is very important to take note for your knights and your berserkers and your war breeds that we have at home, that sort of thing. I'm glad there's text though, because otherwise I guarantee I would be confused. There have also been a few new and improved effects. In this particular example, what are these called? The tier 1 barbarian skirmisher thing. Their spears look better when they throw it. I think they were mass condemned, which is what triggered him to say that. We also got to see Brutal Parry, which is down the warrior tree. As a passive, attackers with 1 hexes suffer 5 physical damage and have a 90% chance of suffering bleed for 3 turns. This seems pretty good. I don't hate it. I don't know if I'm in love with it, but I don't hate it. This could be really fun. Do they still have... Oh, it's actually a good question. I don't know. If, they just buffed the condemnation thing. That's not what it's called. The order signature skill currently in the game that does 6 damage and condemns you. I'm not sure if that is in here somehow, some way, but it'd be cool if you could combine these. But I have no idea. Greater Vigor, previously known as Vigor 3, is now plus 30 max HP, which is absolutely insane. Love to see it. Big, tanky bastard. Over here in the Defender tree, they went Warded Shield, or whatever this is called, because they were fighting, Tempest, and they briefly hovered over Adaptive Armor, which once per turn, whenever this unit takes non-physical damage, it gains bolster resistance and status protection. And then they encountered Tempest, who they were fighting due to the intrigue happening. He was by himself for some AI godforsaken reason. And he is part of the Mage class. I believe the Spirit Summon is... Thomas was confused as to why he had it, but I thought this was part of the Summoner Mystic subculture. But I have no idea. But what I really wanted to show is the curse bit. Thomas said that he had picked the Warlock path, where you can basically pick one skill and then you can further upgrade it if you want to. Curse, of course, is part of the Dark Culture, but in this case, it's a 1 AP attack, 6 range, and inflicted 2 times Center Defense and Center Resistance and Weakening on a 1-turn cooldown. Low damage though, but seems pretty good. Back over in the Ritualist tree for their Herbalist Companion. Dark Ritual used to be a signature skill, has been moved down the Necromancer tree. No shocker there, really. It does deal less damage, but hey, such that. They got their 4th hero, and they decided to go with the Ranger, which, yes, we will see his skill tree. And I took the screenshot because recruiting Governor seems a little crazy. They nerfed a whole bunch of ways to get to recruit higher ranked units, but with this guy, when he's at Renowned level 3, he gets +1 rank recruitment to that city that he's the governor of, and at level 4 he gets another +1. That's +2 in total. Which, if you start combining and layering the various ways to increase rank recruitment, it may be possible to get back to legendary recruitment. It may be. Probably should have sat down and tried to math it out, but I think you can. With the School of Mastery, Smithing Guild, Higher Shrine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? I think you can. I think you can. But they didn't like how he looked when he came in. Look at him, isn't he disgusting? And I thought there were more options here than there was when they were creating the character, 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. So, there are some images you can imagine. And then they have the hats. I really liked the... I'm not exactly sure what these are called, but the straw hats. I think they look really, really neat. And then these are the cloaks. I didn't see anything new here, but I also was uncertain. So I just thought I'd include it. Gotta catch them all. And here is the Ranger tree. Behold, the Ranger tree. Now for the Ranger tree, Thomas mentioned they had to make up 90% of this because they just didn't have much range supports, and they didn't have any skirmish build at all. So what we're looking at here, this left side here is the full ranged damage capacity tree. And then the middle here is all about passive bonuses. And then the right side is kind of skirmisher focused. So starting with the passives, We have Ranger 1, where melee and physical range attacks now deal plus 10% damage. It's just, I think, just covering all your bases. And then there's melee training, where melee attacks now inflict center defense. Effects are increased for non-repeating attacks. Again, this is the skirmisher stuff going on, as my voice is going. On this right side here, we have bonus crit chance, plus 20%, keen edge. Everyone loves a good keen edge. But they also have critical skirmisher. When the hero does a critical hit, subsequent critical hits will do an additional plus 10% damage. And this effect stacks up to 5 times. The crit archer build has come. I mean, it's always been here, but it's gotten a lot better. Sorry about that. I got a drink of water. A bottle of water. But anyway, perhaps now the dreaded stealth archer build can make its appearance in Age of Wonders 4. He hovered over the Apex skill, which is Go for the Kill. This is a free action. Melee and physical range attacks deal plus 50% damage until the end of the current turn. So this is a buff, obviously. A free action buff, which just sounds crazy. I'm picturing this in my mind. Oh, they don't have killing momentum! Oh. I've been thoroughly enjoying the Mage Lock rework, where I basically just used bonus accuracy to get a free shot after I kill something. Darn it. Sure, we'll come up with something. But over here on the left are your active abilities. And much like the mage that I described earlier, you kind of pick one of these and then go down the tree, which further empowers it. On the left, we have... Oh, these are all mutually exclusive, by the way. So once you pick one, you can't pick the others. On the left, we have Scatter Shot. This is a 1 hex radius, 6 range attack, currently dealing 19 physical damage. An AoE. We have True Shot, which is a 6 range, 3 AP bomb. They call it a sniper. It deals 44 physical damage at this point. So if you really want to get rid of somebody, 2-turn cooldown, by the way, goodbye. And they have Snapshot. Now, Snapshot on this screen says it's 0 AP. So you're telling me there's a range 4, so you do have to kind of be close. Free attack for 20 physical damage on a 1-turn cooldown? Seems a little sus to me. But, hey, I'll take it. The Snapshot can upgrade into Knockback Snapshot, where the Snapshot will now knock a target back by 1 hex. This is kind of like the more defensive option they described. The True Shot and the AoE can upgrade into Miasma Shot. True Shot and Scatter Shot now leave Afflicting Miasma and apply Weaken to targets in a 1 hex radius. This is from the Tomb of Alchemy. Or they can upgrade into Piercing Shot. True Shot and Scatter Shot now bypass 50% of the target's defense and resistance, which is probably what I'm gonna take all the time. That can upgrade further down this tree into a Swarm Hunter, where physical range attacks now do +1 physical damage for each unit adjacent to the target. Effects are increased for non-repeating attacks. I believe it's just doubled. Or it can go into Big Game Hunter, where physical range attacks now do +1 of physical damage for each unit tier of the target. Effects are increased for non-repeating attacks. It's worth noting that heroes count as tier 5 units. So that's kind of crazy for hero killing purposes. This was an accidental or incidental hover over. I had to go frame by frame for this one. Melee attacks now do up to 50% extra damage. This bonus is reduced as the target loses health. And it is mutually exclusive with Fatal Strikes, which I'm assuming is dealing more damage as the target's HP gets lower. Which makes me super happy because that means there's at least 2 other forms of fatality damage, which is newly added with the shades. We'll see the second one later. But yeah, this melee stuff is all about skirmishing. And then we have Culling Hunter, which I think is the upgrade for the Miasma one. Physical range attacks now do +1 physical damage per negative status effect on the target. Maximum +5. Effects are increased for non-repeating attacks. So this could be really funny for a... the Pandemonium build. where you just YOLO negative effects and cross your fingers at something good. Did I miss something? Nope. Cool. So they have added a few pre-made heroes. And yes, this is an Orc Samurai. He is returning from Age of Wonders 3, Zorn the Disciplined. You can see his stats here. Then there is Skonryu, who has the Judge mount. Is an Ogrekin leading halflings. I didn't read that before. Okay. And then we have Megaira, the Scalded. There's actually 5, that's surprising. And Woko Oolong, who is, of course, a reference to Sun Wukong. And you may be noticing he's wielding a big sword. No stick. A sword. And this is the Slayer Sword. This is one of the new unlocks in the Pantheon tree, and it has Fatal Strike. It's a charge attack with Fatal Strike, meaning its damage increases as the target loses health up to 50%. So we have an Assassin Shock Unit, which could be really fun. And again, if you pick this sword, I'm not sure. Would the Item Forge's blueprint thing be available no matter what your starting weapon is, or is it just for your starting weapon? I actually don't know. I imagine it's just for your starting weapon. Because, you know, you started with the weapon, you would have the blueprint, because you technically already made it. I would imagine. But here is the new Pantheon tree. So they're not affecting the established Pantheon tree, they're just slapping on the new stuff over here. And this is the first time they have DLC requirements for unlocks, and that's only because these unlocks are for the DLC characters. What have I done? There's a new banner icon. There it is. So, for the Dragon Lords, previously I said there were 2 new dragon heads. That's not true. I apologize. There is the Esoteric Dragon Head, which kind of looks like the thing on the Prosperity Dragon. The small one. I'm actually quite curious to see how that'll just look in-game. But the second unlock is the Seal Blessed Dragon Spine. This is the seals that like float off the Prosperity Dragon as it's floating around, undulating in the air. And Thomas reiterated that they did try to make, or he wanted to make a dragon that looked like the Eastern Chinese dragons, the cloud serpents as I call them, the long noodles without wings, but unfortunately he was told that wasn't possible because of modularity, and like the wings could accidentally reappear and break the model and enchantment stuff, and basically it just wasn't possible, or at least it'd take a lot more effort than they could put in. The Eldritch Sovereign did get 2 heads, the Eldritch Guardian head, which kind of looks like a gargoyle, and the Eldritch Ogre head. I don't even know what I would do with this, but I'm sure there's something out there. I'm sure someone instantly came up with an idea. So there is the Shuriken banner icon and the coin banner icon. This could be really funny for like a full greed Materium thing. Blint. And this is the Martial Cestus. By default, only the Oathsworn subcultures can start with the Cestus, but if you unlock the Martial Cestus, I believe any culture can start with this. It gives you Martial Master, which I think nope. I don't think it was hovered over at all. Actually, I think it was. Sorry I didn't get a picture. I don't remember what it does. I think it's just a leap, though. Be a buff. Hard to say. I'm sure someone caught it. There are 2 new mounts. The Horned Bear mount, which looks cool. And the Jade Tiger mount. And then there's this. This is probably the craziest society trait I have ever seen in my life. The Cult of Personality. Heroes gain a bonus skill point whenever they gain a renown level. There are 4 renown levels, so that's plus 4 skill points. Would it count the first renown level? Maybe plus 3. That's still insane. That's still crazy, especially with the new hero skills. Unit in an army without a hero suffers minus 10 morale. That is easy to overcome. On top of that, you start with +1 hero cap. So you can start with 4. And there's +3 hero cap for Pantheon heroes. So in the live game right now, you can recruit heroes from your Pantheon, but you have to get an event that has a whole bunch of hidden triggers that may or may not even trigger if you've been me in the past 3 playthroughs. Now, Thomas didn't go too into this, but he said that the Pantheon heroes can be recruited just for Imperium in-game, or, in your run. He didn't show it. He didn't elaborate. This is what he said. But you can only have 1 unless you have this society trait. So with the society trait, you can have 4 Pantheon heroes, all of whom, in theory, would have an Ascension trait, which are still a thing. I believe they are pretty much just unchanged. And that sounds really fun. I'm super into it. I still don't know if you can recruit Eldritch Sovereigns, but of course we do know you can recruit Dragon Lords. Perhaps the unholy alliance of Middle-earth, the Witch Beast and Smaug, will come to grace our next playthrough. Perhaps. We have 2 more banners, the Lindworm banner icon and the Ogre banner icon. Cute. And then we have the Slayer's Sword Hero Origin. This is the sword wielded by the Wukong guy. And you can start with it too, if you want. Then we have some masks for the hero customization. The Ogre mask. This one seems far more likely for like a yokai sort of character. And the Guardian helmet. I have no idea what I would wear that on. Not even a little bit. And then we have the second society trait, the Vigilante Knight. Now this one's a little weird. So the Vigilante Knights are about completing bounties. So if you want to do like an Ogre Kingdom playthrough, this is the one for you. Completing bounties grants plus 50% gold and mana and an additional 100 Imperium as rewards. Whenever you have no bounties active, gain a bounty offer targeting a nearby existing infestation that has not been targeted before. It will not generate a new bounty if no more infestations can be found. And starting bonus, starting units gain +1 rank. So, regenerating infestations, Vigilante Knights, Fabled Hunters. You could probably have infinite income without interacting with any other player. It's like you're playing your own minigame, you know? You're in your own little world. Doing your own thing. Having fun. I kind of want to just run both the new traits, even if it doesn't make sense. Because they both seem kind of fun. Now, welcome to the Dragon Lord. Oh boy. So for the Dragon Lord, each of their starting classes will still give you an affinity point, and for what they are. And Order and Materium are defenders. The example Thomas is using is his Materium character. Chaos and Shadow are warriors. Nature is a ritualist, and Astral is a mage. And what we're looking at here is the tree in the middle is the same as it is for everybody else. The Dragon Lord skills have kind of been condensed, but this is pretty much all the same. You have the breath type, the breath which you start with, and then you can specialize the breath into comet, line, or cone. I believe this is quickened breath down here at the bottom. I don't think this is the breath advancement. That is in the signature skills now. Then tail swipe is in here, but there's a new option, the defensive swipe. So if you don't want to knock them back, which typically I don't enjoy, tail swipe will now inflict 2 times weakened, guaranteed, and the dragon will enter into defense mode, which seems really good. I like that a lot. Of course, we have the Dragon War and the Devouring and Gulf thing, which never worked for me. Hated it. And there's still the displacing swipe if you do want to knock things back. And now here's where things get interesting. So, all of the signature skills for the dragons are unique. and they all correspond with the tier of, like, initiate. Level 4 is an initiate, so it unlocks the same potential signature skills you can get as an initiate. The next one, as adept, unlocks the same ones, and then master, and then paragon. So level 4, you choose your aspect. This is the originally the minor transformation, and they have all been buffed to include defensive stats. Now, the exact numbers here have been changed since this. I'm not sure if it was for all of the tiers or just some of them, but take the exact numbers with a grain of salt, but their effects are the same. So for nature aspect, of course, again, HP, defense, resistance. Non-base attacks grant a friendly unit in 3x range of the target plus 10 temporary hit points. So this plays into the whole nature dragon being kind of support-oriented. I believe what this wording is saying is that this will trigger on anything but your weapon attack. Could also be referring to your breath, but I'm sure someone correct me if I am wrong. For Materium, again, we have the defenses that may or may not be changing. Retaliation attacks and opportunity attacks deal plus 50% damage. They also, since this, have received charge resistance. So Materium is all about being tanky yourself. Chaos, of course, is just damage. Gotta love it. They get plus 20% crit hit chance. Big fan. The astral aspect is all about, well, damage, but kind of the magical aspect of damage. So the breath attacks deal plus 30% damage, and breath attacks gain a base 90% chance of inflicting sundered resistance. So if you want to breathe on people, and more, astral is for you. Order aspect, of course, adds the defense, and adjacent friendly units gain plus 2 resistance. So order is also about being defensive, but it's kind of being defensive for everyone else. We do have the Shield of Faith sort of stuff going on. Of course, these unlocks are the equivalent of the initiate stuff. And the shadow aspect, defense stuff. All attacks inflict guaranteed weakened for 3 turns. This effect is doubled for non-repeating attacks. So the Dragon Lords do have, we'll see this a little bit later, have been given 3 claw options now. So they have the base repeating claw. They also have a shielded claw, which is basically just a sword and board. It gives them defense mode and whatnot. Not defense mode, but the defensive aura. Shield wall? Is that what it's called? And there is now a heavy, I think it's called a war claw, which is a shock weapon. So yes, you have shocking, charging dragons. As if a regular one wasn't terrifying enough. Now at level 8 is the transformation. This is previously the major transformation, which has been split into the level 8 and the level 12 signature skills. This one does not affect your breath. That's the difference. So the astral transformation, defenses become ethereal, and you get cosmic bolts. That's the new part, and they did hover it over. Basically, it's a repeating cosmic range attack. I believe it's 4 range, so you do have a ranged option as the astral dragon if you want it. For nature transformation, we have the defense, of course, become plant and fey, which is absolutely insane. I believe I took a screenshot of that. Now I took a screenshot of the next part, which makes it crazier. So fey, of course, means you get the Guile of Miss. Become Guile, which gives you the Miss thing when you're in terrain, obscuring terrain. But at the end of the unit's turn, create obscuring flora in adjacent spaces. The Fey growth. So the nature dragon, as it walks across the battlefield, creates flowers and stuff to obscure it, which gives it the Fey Guile, which is going to be so annoying. Just absolutely infuriating. There is a new option here, for those that notice it, called the Primal Dragon. The Primal Dragon, I believe, the stats were changed again, but the point of the Primal Dragon is it is tougher by itself, and it does not change your aesthetic. So if you didn't want your dragon to look like a giant walking plant, or the star thing from Astral, or a demon lord from Chaos, You just pick Primal, and it will retain its original appearance. Except for the fact that Aspect gives it the breath on the chest thing. So besides from that, you can't avoid looking like a giant walking affinity point. There's Cosmic Bolts. Look at that. Oh, it is 4 range. I remembered. That's, of course, from the Astral Transformation. Primal Dragon gets natural regeneration on top of more defense. I think what Thomas said was the defense and resistance were knocked down to 1, but the bonus health over the others remained. And natural regeneration is just pretty good. Healing 10% of its max HP as temporary hit points at the end of its turn in combat, and heals 10 hit points at the start of your world turn. The Materium Transformation looks all familiar. You get Elemental Unit Type, Reinforce, and First Strike. Does Elemental Unit Type mean that you become Undying? It does, right? In the with the Tome of the Creator. Chaos Transformation, you get the Infernal Fiend Unit Type. Vicious Killer and Terrifying Aura. For Shadow Transformation, you become dead, all attacks gain lifesteal, and slain units transform into decaying zombie, except in water battles. Or water battles. And these are the options from the Adept of Nature, signature skill, for, everyone else. The Withering Decay, base attacks have a 90% chance to inflict decaying. Add Adaptive Vigor once per turn. This unit gains regeneration when hit by an attack. Not bad. Not bad. So remember when I said the major transformation was split? The level 8 is your transformation. Level 12 is the breath bonuses. So Inferno Breath, the Chaos one, I believe they all give plus 30 hit points. But Inferno Breath, the size of the breath increases. This is where you get the greater Dragon Breath. Becomes fire damage, if not a Chaos Dragon. Deal 30% more damage. Always inflicts burning. And will set affected hexes on fire. Well, that's super cool. The Rust Breath, again increased in size. Becomes part physical damage, if not a Materium Dragon. Inflicts guaranteed weakened and guaranteed sunder defense. And it will dispel all positive status effects on enemies. Mwah. Magnificent. Frost Breath, increased in size, becomes part Frost Dragon, if not Frost damage, if not a Shadow Dragon, and has a base 90% chance of inflicting Frozen. And if that is resisted, they become slowed instead. And you know what happens when you're slowed? A retaliation. Reduced retaliation. Life Breath, for the nature choice, increases in size, becomes part Blight damage, if not a Nature Dragon, and will heal friendly units for plus 20 temporary hit points, and revives friendly dead units with 30% of their total hit points. I believe Thomas mentioned this is strictly a healing ability now, once you take Life Breath. Storm Breath, increases in size, becomes part lightning damage if not an Astral Dragon, deals 30% more damage, always inflicts Electrified, and has a base 90% chance of inflicting Blind. Unfortunately, they did not hover over Pure Breath. But here are some of the Master Chaos things. We have the Investiture of Chaos, which is a 1 AP for range. Enemies in a 1 hex radius gain 2 random debuffs. Cool. That's a 1-turn cooldown. Would it be too OP if this was a leave with 1 AP skill, I wonder? And Amplify Chaos, a 1 AP 0 range, so targets yourself. Target all adjacent enemies, remove all negative status effects, and deal 12 fire damage for each negative status effect removed with a 1-turn cooldown. Oh, so this is, Chaos Devour or whatever it's called. Okay. It's pretty good. I'm not sure if I would ever use that, though, to be honest. And last but not least, they showed off a couple of the Elder traits. These are the equivalent of Paragon, signature skills for the other god here. So Elder of Astral, 15 hit points, 1 defense, 1 resistance. Again, those numbers may change. This gives Wind Barrier, that is the 60% evasion to ranged attacks, which is absolutely insane. And Storm Call, which is a 0 AP, displace all adjacent enemies up to 2 hexes, and triggers Electrified. This is if you The Astral Dragon does kind of want to be at ranged, you know, it's a magician sort of thing. So if you get surrounded, you can just pop this, they go away. Voila! You are safe and ready to keep on doing magic stuff. The Elder of Chaos becomes immune to fire hazards, but more importantly, grants the Fires of War until the end of battle. Melee attacks gain +2 fire damage per stack, stacks up to 5 times whenever it kills something. So that sounds really fun. And I believe this was the final one they showed, the Elder of Shadow. Whenever a unit is slain, this unit heals for 10 temporary hit points. The wording here suggests that it's just whenever something dies. You don't have to be the one who did it. That's pretty tanky, actually. Oh, there was the Elder of Order as well. I caught it. All friendly units in combat gain control loss immunity. Sold! You had me. I'm convinced. At the start of this unit's turn, all friendly units gain +5 morale. I mean, I do really like control loss immunity. No insanity, no charmed, no dominated. That could be really good. Well, it's not very flashy, but it could be strong. So here are the new claw types. The devs were kind of in the way, but hey, you can fill your imagination here. It's just a charge weapon. And then the Armored Claw, which I think does less base damage, but it gives you the ability to end in the special defense mode. Now, here at the very end, they did take a look at the Eldritch Sovereign. The Eldritch Sovereign did not receive anywhere near as many changes. In fact, I don't think it got any changes. The Governor skills it had, the Eldritch Governor, Eldritch Imperium thing, was removed. Because, you know, it's kind of been baked into the new Governor Gaudier, which is what the Eldritch Sovereign has, just like everybody else. The tree, I believe these are all the same. And 3 of the Eldritch Sovereigns are mages. It is only the Flesh Weaver, I believe, that is the Ritualist. Because even though we have Flesh Weave on this, this character has Flesh Weave. That was because of it's an Ascended character, but the Cosmic Spike is the starting weapon, so that's what determined this as a mage. And any Ascension traits are over here in the Miscellaneous. This one has Deep Collar. What? 3 range. 50 physical damage. Wow. Target enemy suffers 45 physical damage, ignoring defense, and is constricted for 1 turn. Do you want your Eldritch Sovereign to be in a 3 range of an enemy? I don't know. Look, it's what I'm recording right now. Let's not look at that, shall we? So that was the dev stream. It was a pretty good stream. Thomas had a lot of fun figuring out what in the 9 hells Tom was up to the previous week. And I'm not sure he ever really figured it out. But they will be back next week, and I'm assuming there is a dev diary that will come alongside it. It will probably... I'm not a betting man, but I would bet it has something to do with art. That's usually the last one they pull out, because, you know, we've seen all of the technical stuff. Now take a look at the pretty things. But I hope you enjoyed this dev diary and stream. As always, I will leave a link in the description down below. Whoop! You didn't see that? I will leave a link in the description down below to both the diary, so you can read it for yourself if you would like to investigate the spoilery images more, and to the dev stream if you would like to watch Thomas and Michelle have fun. As for how I'm feeling great about the DLC. Obviously, I'm losing my voice, so that could be doing better. But I'm very excited to get into the Intrigue and to have a little fun coming November 5th. And don't you worry, the poll will start very soon. So thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Thank you to the patrons and the channel members who support the channel. I greatly appreciate you. If you would like to stay up on the channel, feel free to join the Discord description down below. And I will see you next week.